Okay, so this is our last module, module 5, and we have 2 weeks to complete this. And unlike what we've been studying in the last few modules, which is supervised learning. So supervised learning, as we discussed, you have annotated or labeled data, which can guide the model training or fitting process. In unsupervised learning, which is different from supervised learning in the sense that you don't have labeled data, you don't have a target variable. So this is primarily an exploration, okay? And so we will focus on clustering, that being a commonly used unsupervised method, but there are other unsupervised learning methods such as association mining and others, okay? So the clustering analysis is a type of analysis where you try to group similar based on some criteria, typically variables that are relevant for that data set. So based on the characteristics of those, it can group similar records together or similar objects. And so the lesson objective in here is, so obviously, what are the main differences between supervised and unsupervised learning methods? And the main one and the very basic one is the nature of the data. One is annotated, the other one is not. Annotated means you have a target variable that you know the answer or the classification of that target if it is a categorical variable, if the target is a categorical variable, or for regression problem you have values for it. So that's supervised learning. In an unsupervised setting, you don't have any target variable, okay? And like I said, we'll focus on one type of unsupervised learning, which is clustering, and we will study about clustering and cluster analysis, and the type of data that goes into the cluster analysis. And so there are several types of algorithms for cluster methods. So we will study those, and we will focus on one commonly used clustering method and simple to use, which is called k-means clustering method. And you will study that by exploring and experimenting in Python and interpreting the results of the cluster that you develop. Okay, so the content of this module is different because this is the first time that you are dealing with unsupervised methods, and most problems actually are unsupervised because supervised method require annotated data, which is not always easy to find because you would require human experts to label those data. In unsupervised method, you don't need that target variable or annotated target. Following with the same structure of what we've been doing, so we will have reading materials. There is a lecture note that introduced commonly used unsupervised methods, particularly for clustering, and it will go through clustering basics and application and algorithm of the k-means logic, and as well as the hierarchical clustering, which is another commonly used clustering type. And there is a chapter book in the given link. There are 2 chapters that focus on principle of unsupervised learning, and there are some challenges in supervised learning. So the challenge from supervised learning is the availability of the data, the training data, but the use of unsupervised learning is challenging. So this chapter covers that aspect, as well as it goes through the underlying logic of k-means and hierarchical algorithm. Also, we will have video lectures on k-means clustering, and also how you evaluate clustering methods or clusters that you create. If you remember from supervised learning, more or less it's straightforward how to perform model evaluation. After you fit a model, there are a set of rules and metrics by which you measure the performance of your model. In the case of clustering, is not quite straightforward, but there are some techniques, there are some metrics to evaluate clusters, how good the clusters are. And there is also a video that shows the underlying logic and the algorithm of clustering, and particularly the k-means. Okay, and then quiz 5 that covers unsupervised learning, and one application again, clustering, and then you would do clustering assignment. So just like what you did before, you would select the dataset appropriate for unsupervised learning. There are some recommended dataset that is provided in this link. And also, if you have other dataset that you like to work with, that's fine as well. And then you will perform an analysis by developing clusters in k-means, or you can also use hierarchical clustering and an implementation in Python. So you run the analysis, you perform evaluation, and you will produce a technical report summarizing your findings. So that would be your last module, module 5. And again, you have 2 weeks for that. And that will be the content of this module. Thank you.